The impact of religion and Sufism on arts in Sudan. Ahmed Muhammad Shibrain, 1931-2007. The internationally renowned Sudanese visual artist, painter, graphic artist, and carver, Ahmed Muhammad Shibrain is regarded as one of the foremost pioneers of modern art movement and a central figure in shaping the history of calligraphy and painting in Sudan. He was among the founding figures of what became known as the Khartoum School, a movement that sought to articulate Sudanese identity by blending Arabic calligraphy with indigenous visual elements, thereby opening new horizons for contemporary artistic expression. Shibrain's artistic experience is distinguished by its unique ability to draw upon Islamic spirituality and Sufi sensibilities, transforming them into a vibrant visual language rich in symbolism and suggestion. In his work, letters intertwine and signs them to dance, forming an aesthetic structure that reflects a profound cultural belonging and a deep spiritual reservoir. The audience, it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you to this new episode in our documentary series, where we explore the impact of Islam and Sufism on the enduring works of Sudanese artists. In today's episode, we journey into the creative world of Professor Ahmed Muhammad Shibrain, uncovering how the letter in his hands transcends its function as a mere vehicle of drawing to become a living artistic entity, carrying within it the secrets of beauty and the manifestations of the spirit. So, as you listen, dear audience, our encounter with the renowned Sudanese artists, calligraphers, painters, carver, bring you today and in our presence this time a notable and prominent Sudanese artist, Ahmed Muhammad Shibrain. Ahmed Muhammad Shibrain is a professor, artist, and intellectual, one of the rarest and most profound figures produced by the Sudanese art scene. Yet, in my view, he was not received the full recognition he deserves, either during his lifetime or after his passing way. Despite his pioneering contribution to shaping a contemporary visual identity rooted in Islamic and African heritage, with opening it toward modernity. He is one of the first Arab writers. He is among the first Arab artists to experiment with calligraphy in the 1950s. He draws on his country-rich African, Nubian, Arab, and Meroitic heritage by combining different motifs from their various artistic disciplines, including folk art and calligraphy, with local primary materials such as mahogany. However, the audience in this episode, I would like to share his biography, his education, his achievements and accomplishments, in addition to his career, and then his legacy. So, just I would like to start with his birth and upbringing. With his birth and upbringing, Ahmed Muhammad Shibrain was born in 1931 in Berber, northern Sudan. He completed his primary and intermediate education in Berber before attending secondary school at Wadi Saidna in Omdurman. During his early childhood in the village Al-Gadwab near Berber, Shibrin attended a religious school where he learned to read and write the letters of the Quran, fostering a deep mystical enchantment with Arabic script. This exposure to the form and sound of Arabic letters in a spiritually charged environment introduced him to the blend of Arab and African cultural elements inherent in Sudanese traditions, including calligraphy derived from Islamic influences. Without any formal artistic training at this stage, his initial fascination with visual forms was shaped by this cultural immersion rather than structured education. Shibrin grew up under the Anglo-Egyptian condominium, the colonial administration that governed Sudan until independence in 1956, an event that instilled a sense of national optimism and promoted reflections on Sudanese identity amid Arab-African cultural tensions. This socio-political backdrop, marked by liberation movements in the mid of 20th century, influenced his early worldview, emphasizing the integration of diverse heritages with cultural disavowal. It was during adolescence that he transitioned toward formal education in Khartoum, where his artistic interests began to develop further. He graduated from the College of Fine Arts in Khartoum in 1955. So as you listen to the audience, the artist Ahmed Muhammad Shibrain has started his education at Khalwa, and then he joined formal education in Berber primary schools, went to Khartoum, mainly the school of Wadi Saidna, and he received his secondary education, and then he joined the College of Fine Arts in 1955 and graduated with Bachelor in Arts. Ahmed Muhammad Shibrain began his academic career upon returning to Sudan from studies in London, where he was appointed as a lecturer at the College of Fine Arts and Applied Arts, now part of the Sudan University of Science and Technology in Khartoum in 1960. In this role, he established the graphic design department at the college, introducing innovative approaches that integrated Sudanese cultural elements into visual arts education. As an influential educator, Shibrin mentored generations of Sudanese artists, fostering the development of the Khartoum School through his teaching and collaboration with peers like Ibrahim al-Salahi. Shibrin was promoted to head of the graphics department at the College of Fine and Applied Arts, a position that allowed him to further shape the curriculum. In 1996, he also founded the Shibrin Art Center, which showcases Sudanese artists. Working primarily as a painter and graphic artist, Ahmed Shibrain is the leading figure of modernism in Sudan. Alongside his influential contemporaries Ibrahim al-Salahi and Kamal Ishaq, Shibrin was one of the founders of the Khartoum School in the 1960s, a movement of artists who cultivated a new visual style called Sudanawiya, which expressed local and Pan-African traditions alongside Western influences. Through the use of calligraphy, the aesthetics of Hurufiyya, indicating transforming Arabic letters into abstract shapes named after harf, the Arabic word for letter, and Islamic motifs. The movement attempted to convey the cultural fabric of the Sudan. In the early 1950s, Shibrain studied at Khartoum College of Fine and Applied Arts for 2 years and was student of London Central School of Arts in 1957. Shibrain wanted to define the contemporary Sudanese identity, a blend of Arabic, African, and Islamic cultures. After the country gained independence in 1956. He became dean of the renamed department, the College of Fine and Applied Arts, in 1975. Under Shibrain's direction, it continues to be a crucial institution for the contemporary art of sub-Saharan Africa. He reflected on the need to move beyond colonial European models, stating that prior to 1960, Sudanese visual art had been fixated on the traditional European schools and copied the same academic styles and technical methods. And he sought to originate an authentic Sudanese art through abstract interpretation of Arabic, calligraphy, and national culture. Beyond the college, Shibrain held prominent administrative roles in Sudan's cultural sector, including serving as Secretary General of the Council of Arts and Letters, through which he supported national artistic initiatives. He also served as Undersecretary of the Ministry of Culture and Information in 1983. Shibrain organized student expositions and facilitated international artistic exchanges, promoting the next generation of the Khartoum School and broader Sudanese modernism. In the later stages of his career, following his deanship, Shibrain took on advisory roles in cultural preservation, notably founding the Shibrin Art Center in Khartoum in 1996 to showcase Sudanese artists amid the country's political challenges. He continued these efforts until his death in 2017. So the audience, this is just part of his rich professional career. Accomplishments and achievements. Founding the Khartoum School. In 1960, Ahmed Shibrain co-founded the Khartoum School alongside Ibrahim al-Salahian Kamal Ibrahim Ishaq as the College of Fine and Applied Arts in Sudan, Khartoum, as a direct response to the Western-centric curricula that dominated post-colonial art education in the region. This initiative emerged in the wake of Sudan's independence in 1956, aiming to forge an indigenous modernist tradition that rejected colonial artistic imposition and celebrated the nation's multifaceted cultural heritage. The school's formation marked a pivotal moment in African art history, positioning Sudan at the center for innovative modernism that bridged local traditions with global influences. The Khartoum School's principles emphasize the integration of African symbolism, Islamic calligraphy, and abstract modernism to cultivate a distinctly Sudanese art aesthetic known as Sudanawiya artist. Distilling Arabic script into abstract non-figurative forms, a style termed Hurufiyya, while incorporating motifs from Nubia, Arawatic, and folk traditions to evoke national identity and decolonize visual expression. This fusion sought to create a visual vocabulary that was both universal in its modernist abstraction and rooted in Sudan, Islamic, and African contexts, challenging Eurocentric norms dominated and prevalent in art institutions. Shibrain's art and that of Khartoum School have taught us that to become a Sudanese artist means to be able to blend the two civilizations that give you its language, the Arabic civilization, and a civilization that is baked in the imagination of its magicians, the African civilization. As a poet, Shibrin contributed to the school's ideological foundations by incorporating local materials such as mahogany wood to symbolize African heritage. His work helped solidify the movement's emphasis on cultural synthesis and self-determination. Shibrin is a captivating visual mediation on the Sufi notion of Tawheed or divine oneness, combining Christian and Islamic iconography. Shibrin uses contrasting religious symbolism to emphasize the unity of the divine and the essential equivalence of religious meaning. Critic Farouk Yusuf considers the art of Ahmed Shibrain and his fellows in Khartoum School as having built a bridge between what is Arabic and what is African. The only difference between these artists is the style. Each one of them had his own way of expression. So, while Salahi was close to the school of expressive realism, Shibrain remained faithful to his Hurufi style. According to Yusuf, while Salahi had left Sudan to live in Oxford in Britain, Shibrain preferred to stay in Sudan as a teacher of generations of artists who acquired from him noteworthy expertise in print graphics. Shibrain's vision and philosophy of beauty, life, and the spirit were remarkably deep. He was not a man of many words, but when he spoke, his expressions carried the brevity of the enlightened and the depths of a Sufi. Shibrain's artistic life was framed by a profound Sufi orientation, which was not merely a form of religiosity, but a complete existential experience reflected across his body of work. For him, the letter was not just a form or a symbol, it was a spiritual trace, a visual chant, a silent supplication. He did not write with his hand alone, but with his soul. Arabic letters in his work formed a distinctive visual system, moving between abstraction and contemplation, between rhythm and aestheticism, as though Shibrin had discovered a new language, one that is not read but savor. Shibrain, says Yusuf, has earned his spiritual energy from an almighty enchantment with the letters of the Quran he learned reading and writing in a religious school. In a religious school in his home village of Al Gaudab near the town of Berber. This had later on promoted him to introduce the Arabic characters in an aesthetic maze that never remains of the traditional Arabic letter as such, but takes that letter towards a visual memory whose image is seen in the mirror of African imagination. Shibrain's own words, he's trying to use the same vocabulary, Quranic, to shape the mind or reshape it by using what the people are used to. Shibrain claims that the greatest influence on his aesthetics has been Islam, and says in the next phrase, I believe in liberty. Surely he is liberating traditional calligraphy from conservatism and absolutism of Islamic art, and is still staying within the limits of his culture and traditions. He reflects the changing socio-religious structure of his society, change within the framework of Islam. It manifests as a mode of being, an existential condition revealed across his artistic expressions in Arabic calligraphy, in silence, in color, in the tranquil meeting of the two Niles, and equally in states of austerity, hardship, fracture, and the unending search for meaning. Exposition and recognition. Shibrain's artistic contributions gain international visibility through participation in group expositions across Africa and the Middle East, including shows in Algeria, Lebanon, and Syria during his career. In more recent years, his works have been prominently featured in major surveys of Arab and African modernism organized by the Bargel Art Foundation. These include Taking Shape, Abstraction from the Arab World, 1950s, 1980s, which toured institutions such as Sharqa Art Museum, Mashaf, Arab Museum of Modern Art in Doha, and the Block Museum of Art at Northwestern University, showing his abstract integrations of calligraphy and Sudanese motifs alongside regional contemporaries. Impact on Sudanese modernism. Ahmed Shibrain played a pivotal role in decolonizing Sudanese art through his co-founding of the Khartoum School in 1960s, which served as a model for Pan-African modernism by fusing local African, Nubian, Arabic, and Islamic elements into a modernist framework that rejected colonial European academism. Emerging in the wake of Sudan 1956 independence, the school emphasized indigenous expressions suppressed under British rule, creating a visual language that celebrated the nation's ethnic, religious, and cultural pluralism while forging a unified national identity. Shibrin adoption of Hurufiyya, abstracted Arabic calligraphy intertwined with African motifs, positioned the Khartoum School alongside other North African and Middle Eastern modernist movements, adapting global modernism to local traditions and contributing to a broader Pan-African artistic discourse. Shibrin inspired the young Sudanese artist by prioritizing cultural synthesis over Western imitation, blending Arabic, African, and Islamic influences to define a distinctly Sudanese aesthetics known as Sudanawiyya. As a lecturer and dean at the College of Fine and Applied Arts in Khartoum, he monitored generations of artists, imparting techniques in print graphics and modernist principles that perpetuated the Khartoum School's legacy in contemporary Sudanese and diasporic art scenes. This emphasis on hybrid forms encouraged successors to explore their dual African-Arab heritage, resisting cultural divides and universalizing Arabic calligraphy across the continent. Through his artistic practice and theoretical contributions, Shibrin advanced art theory by employing abstraction as a vehicle for social commentary, using fragmented calligraphy and motifs to symbolize unity amid Sudan ethnic divisions and promote shared national culture. His works, such as those integrating tribal-inspired figures with Islamic patterns, reflected the common denominator for Sudan's diverse populations, challenging colonial legacies and fostering dialogue on pluralism. This approach influenced regional abstraction movements, positioning Sudanese modernism as a tool for identity formation in post-colonial Africa. Professor Hussein Jumhan remembers his professor, the late Ahmed Shibrain, and described him as an amazing phenomenon. To quote him, as students, we used to rush into the other art studios, but entering his studio, we were always well prepared, as we found that we were in the presence of creativity and achievement. He used to spend 10 minutes with each student discussing their creative productions. Those 10 minutes were more than enough to feed us for the whole week, as they were so deep and interesting. Shibrin was fully aware of our potential and was the flaming fire that fed our creativity. We, as students, felt that he was living this age of the arts and that he was always up to date and fully aware of where the art was going. Shibrin's institutional legacy lies in his expansion of fine arts education in Sudan as the Dean of the College of Fine and Applied Arts, where he helped develop a formal curriculum drawing from international experiences to train emerging talents. His era facilitated greater female participation in the field, exemplified by his collaboration with co-founder Kamal Ibrahim Ishaq and the inclusion of women in the Khartoum schools' pioneering efforts, broadening access to modernist training and diversifying the Sudanese art community. And this is just part of the great legacy of the late Sudanese artist, the painter, the educator, the visual art pioneer, Ahmed Muhammad Shibrain. So just I shared part of his legacy, part of his biography, part of his contributions. And as we following these documentaries, which as I told have been dedicated to Sudanese artists and Sudanese impact with Islamic religion, with Sufism in arts, our journey as you follow the audience have been covered this time part of the great legacy and contribution of the late Professor Ahmed Muhammad Shibrain. So to the present moment, he is the third in the long list of the Sudanese pioneers, Sudanese founders of Khartoum School. That school which tries to reflect the Sudanese identity based on our culture, based on our tradition, based on our diversity, ethnically, religiously, and culturally. So we presented earlier Usman Wagihallah, followed by Ibrahim al-Salahi, and today we have experienced part of the great legacy with Ahmed Muhammad Shibrain, and those are the founders of the fine arts, the visual arts in Sudan. So before to wrap up the episode here, I would like just to share the sources that I have consulted to present the episode. Wikipedia, there is a thorough study about Ahmed Muhammad Shibrain, his biography, his contributions, his achievements. Then I have consulted Wikipedia, and with the study Ahmed Shibrain, it is available there. Moreover, so very long contribution essay, an article about Ahmed Muhammad Shibrain in this website, Wikipedia. And then Sandra Halley, her paper Arts in a Changing Society in Northern Sudan, published in 1970. Moreover, another website, bargil.rfoundation.org, Sudan, Ahmed Shibrain, article published there. And then Ahmed Shibrain's Art, a marrying of Arab and African cultures, published article on Sudan Now magazine on 6th of December 2020. And then here we have an article written by Kamal Hashim, published article on Facebook, date 20 of June 2025. And finally, the impact of Sufism on arts in Sudan, published book 2024 by Jalil Abdullah Saleh. By this, the audience, I come to the end of the episode. Till seeing you in another episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.